What's going on, guys? I'm MrGoldenGamer and I make gaming videos that nobody watches. This video is long overdue. The Battlefield 6 beta has been out of our hands for quite a while now, but while I was able to play it, I did play a whole bunch of it and I developed some opinions on the game. So in this video, I'm going to go over all of my pros and cons when it comes to Battlefield 6. And to be honest with you, there are way more positives than there are negatives. I think we are in for a great game here with Battlefield 6. Not only just a good Battlefield game, but a good first-person shooter. And I think we needed that because any competition in the space is a good thing. This will just make other studios put out better FPS games because they're competing with Battlefield, and I really like that. But before I get into all of my thoughts here on Battlefield 6, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll be covering Battlefield 6 this year, Black Ops 7. Actually, just next week, we're going to be getting some Black Ops 7 Zombies updates, and I'll be covering those. Borderlands 4 comes out this Friday, so I might be doing videos on that. Then Arc Raiders comes out in October as well. There are just so many games this year that I'm planning on covering on the channel, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of that. It's going to be a great year for games. The first thing I noticed before anything else playing the Battlefield 6 beta is just how well this game is optimized. I booted up the game, didn't change any of the settings on my PC, and it was playing extremely smooth. So eventually, I decided to pop open the settings and take a look what my graphics settings were set to, and everything was set to Ultra. I'm rocking a Ryzen 7 5700X3D and a 3080 Ti. It's a pretty good computer, but to be running a game at 1440p ultra settings as smooth as it was just off the rip was amazing to me, especially in a beta where I just booted this up for the first time and it was running that smooth. This game is so well optimized. And I actually just saw an article recently where some Battlefield devs said that they do not have ray tracing in this game, which ray tracing has basically been the standard for the past, I don't even know how many years, at least 5, right? So they don't have that in this game because they really wanted to focus on performance, and they definitely have done that. This game runs so smooth, it's incredible, and I'm really happy for that. I think more studios should take notes on this and really optimize their games because at the end of the day, we want smooth gameplay and high frame rates when it comes to first-person shooters, and they absolutely killed that. The next thing I noticed was the gunplay. I saw plenty of videos before hopping into the beta from the reveal event and such where it looked like these guns were absolute laser beams and had no recoil, and honestly it didn't look great. But once I actually got my hands on it and started using them, I started to actually really like it. It didn't feel like it was too arcadey or just not enough recoil or anything like that. But they have said that they're going to continue to tune the weapons. So the recoil and tap fire is going to be tuned for more consistent gunplay and distinct weapon feel. The tap firing and burst firing are going to be more rewarding. They want to encourage you to do that at longer ranges rather than hold down the trigger. So they're making changes there. Also, the shotgun needed dialed back, and they did that between the reveal event and the beta, but the shotgun was still extremely powerful considering your assault class has a shotgun always. So you have a pistol and a shotgun on your assault class. So like, that thing is really powerful for being essentially a secondary, so they need to tune that down some more, and they said that they would. And of course, they're going to continue to tweak the time to kill and death as time goes on, right? But I think during the beta, I was not bothered by the time to kill really anything aside from the shotgun. The shotgun was just way too overpowered, but everything else felt pretty good on the time to kill, and even whenever I was getting killed, the time to die did not feel bad whatsoever. Now, if you know anything about my channel, you'll know that I am primarily a Call of Duty player. I have played Battlefield games in the past, okay? I have played Battlefield 3. Actually, going back, I played Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. Then I also played Hardline. And then the newer ones I didn't play so much, but I played the betas at the very minimum. So Battlefield 1, I played the beta. Battlefield 5, I played the beta. 2042, I haven't played till recently because that game was a flop. But anyway, I've played Battlefield games, okay? I know generally what to expect from a Battlefield game. Have I dumped the same amount of hours into Battlefield as I have Call of Duty? No, but I do understand that Battlefield is its own separate franchise and has its own gameplay loop. Now the thing is, Battlefield has always been accused of pandering to the Call of Duty player base to try to win over more players. And to an extent, that's true. Why would you not, right? It's a business. You exist to make money. But even since Battlefield 3, Battlefield hardcore fans were saying like, oh my god, they're doing this just to bring over the Call of Duty players. We don't need them over here, whatever. But this year, they are definitely like unapologetically trying to win over Call of Duty players, right? They need to pounce on this because they want Battlefield to be the game that everyone buys, right? So it makes sense. So that being said, what I'm about to talk about kind of ties into all of this. Some of the complaints that people had in the beta were the maps, right? So for example, this map here is a very close quarters map in New York City. You don't have all of the big vehicle gameplay or anything like that. And I think that choice was very deliberate for the beta. They wanted Call of Duty players to get into the beta and be like, oh yeah, I can play this. You know, this is pretty fast-paced, you know, a lot of gunfights, stuff like that. Whereas if they did one of those super large-scale Battlefield maps, I think some of these Call of Duty fans coming in to play the beta would be bored by that, or just not understand it, or get frustrated and turn it off. So they really wanted to get the Call of Duty players hooked by using these smaller maps in the beta. Do I think that the game is going to have just these smaller maps? No. That is not the case, and they've explicitly said that. There will be some new maps added to Battlefield Labs for testing, Mirak Valley, which is a very big one, and of course, the remake of Operation Firestorm from Battlefield 3, another massive map. So this was just a choice for the beta, and I think you can get more data from your players by doing this too, right? If you have smaller maps, you have more gunfights, you can get more feedback on how the guns feel, on how gunfights feel, time to kill, time to die, all that stuff. So it makes sense. But of course, the hardcore Battlefield fans are saying, oh my god, all the maps are small, it's just Call of Duty. It's not. They did these choices deliberately, and there will be some smaller maps like this in the game, and there will be some massive old school Battlefield maps in the game. One bug in the beta that was rather annoying was that some players were able to get up on rooftops that they were not supposed to get to, so you wouldn't really know to look for them there, and they would just camp on top of these rooftops all game. They're aware of this issue and they're going to fix it for launch, but it was definitely something that was pretty frustrating playing the beta. This whole narrative of they're just trying to please Call of Duty players also carried over into a lot of the feedback people had about the movement. They're saying like, oh my god, we're moving way too quick. Well, it turns out that the actual run movement speed in this game is one of the slowest of any Battlefield games ever. But there were some valid complaints there. There's a slide mechanic, right? And people can chain this slide mechanic into like a slide jump combo and absolutely zip across the map. And they don't want that. So they're reducing that momentum from slide to jump combos. And they're also increasing the penalty for repeatedly jumping and doing like a bunny hop maneuver that used to be in like OG Warzone and Call of Duty, right? They don't want people doing that in Battlefield. And I get that. I don't want that either. I don't even want that in Call of Duty. So I'm happy that they're making those changes. But look, I think that they have their head in the right place. They want to keep Battlefield for the most part, aside from the open weapon, closed weapon thing, which I'll talk about later. But I think their head is still mostly in the right place. They want to draw Call of Duty fans to Battlefield while keeping Battlefield. They'll have some things in the game for the people that want the faster paced gunfight, mindless shooting action, right? They'll have that in the game, but they will have the traditional big maps for Conquest, just like you would expect in any other Battlefield. So are they pandering and trying to get more Call of Duty fans on board? Yeah, they are. Would you not? Did you not want more people to buy your game? Like, that whole argument just felt so stupid to me. But in the beta, it was very obvious that some of these maps were smaller, and that's all I'm trying to say. I felt the maps were a little small. Would I like to see bigger maps for Battlefield? Yes, and turns out we will be seeing bigger maps. So I touched on this for a second earlier, but you know I have to talk about it, and that is the open versus closed weapons playlist debate. So traditionally, Battlefield used to only be closed weapons, and all this means is that the type of weapon you use is limited depending on what class you pick. So if you're assault, you can't use something like a sniper. You can use an assault rifle or a carbine or things like that, right? So that's how Battlefield traditionally was. Well, now we have the open weapon playlist as well, which means you can use any gun you want with any class you want. It doesn't matter. You will have your signature weapon for your class, which maybe gives you like an XP bonus. I don't even know exactly what it does, but it gives you some benefit if you use a sniper with recon, even in the open weapon playlist. But look, Battlefield should stay true to Battlefield here. The fact that they have both options, I think, is silly. I think they need to go back to closed only. Will that piss a bunch of people off? Yes, it absolutely will. Even some of my friends that I was playing with, they were asking me, you know, what's the difference between this closed and open thing? And I explained it. And even some of them were like, oh yeah, that's stupid. I want to play with whatever gun I want, right? I don't want to be limited based on whatever class I pick. And of course you don't want to be, but I think that's just part of the gameplay balance of this. And I think that's just the way it should be by default. Sure, maybe in Portal or whatever, if you make a custom mode, then you can have open weapon playlists, but I think the base game needs to be closed weapon, or just pick one or the other. Having both just seems very silly to me. Most people who play the game that are casuals won't even know what the difference is really, so like, why have both? Just do the traditional Battlefield thing is what I think you should do, and just have closed all the time. But like, don't do this try to please everybody thing. That's what Call of Duty has done in this Warzone era, is they try to please like every player base, and it turns out that no one gets enough attention or focus. And this feels like one of those decisions, right? Where it's like, oh, we want to make everybody happy. It's like, no, you don't have to do that. Just make your player base happy. Make the people who like Battlefield happy and do the Battlefield thing. You know, I just don't understand why this is even a debate. Closed weapon is the way to do this. They also, like, the player counts were a little weird, right? Like, Rush was 12v12, and they even made comments about this in a blog post since the beta, saying that, like, 12v12 is what Rush was back in the day, you know? That's like, we're going back to the roots of Rush. We want it to be tactical, but there's all these other decisions in that game mode where, like, the spawn points for the defending team are very close to the MCOMs, and some of the MCOMs are very close together, too, so it doesn't really feel tactical in any way. It needs work. Rush definitely needs work. So that's a whole separate video. I can talk about the Rush stuff, but it's not ideal. And it's not just player count, but their blog post, like getting beta feedback, really only addressed the player count thing and not so much the spawns and the MCOM placements and things like that. That definitely needs some work. General player counts too, they said it'll vary map to map. Some maps will be 48 players, some will be 64, but they said for the smaller modes like TDM, Domination, and King of the Hill, 8v8 is the typical number they go for, and like, all that makes sense. The player counts, whatever, it doesn't even really matter, because a lot of people are forgetting the fact that Portal exists, and Portal is basically just the game. You can get XP and do everything you can in the game within Portal, right? So people are mad that the game doesn't have a server browser by default, but Portal has a server browser. And Portal gets you XP in the game, and people can make whatever game you want. People can make a 64v64 Rush in Portal mode, and you can play it and get XP. So why do we even really care what the base playlists are, right? Because we might end up all playing Portal. Like, Portal might be the future, and I think that's the vision that they see over there. So we'll have to wait and see. I think Portal is going to be a really cool thing. I'll be making separate videos going over Portal, of course, but Portal will keep Battlefield 6 relevant for years to come. Just look at Fortnite Creative, look at the Zombies mod tools for Black Ops 3, all these types of things where you can make custom content by the community for the community within the game. It's going to do great. This is a huge thing. It's not even getting talked about that much, mainly because we haven't seen it that much yet, but this will be huge. Overall, after playing the Battlefield 6 beta, I think Battlefield 6 is in a great spot leading up to launch. I think launch will be very successful for this game. They had plenty of server stress testing just on the beta alone because of how many people played it. We might, and knock on wood, we might get a very smooth Battlefield launch this time around here with Battlefield 6, and I really hope so. Everything I've experienced in the beta so far has been really fun and feels good, looks good, plays good. Like it's a good game so far, and I hope to God that EA doesn't make some kind of boneheaded decision when it comes to microtransactions or something like that in this game to ruin what it has going, because what Battlefield 6 has going at this point is something very good, something we haven't seen in a very long time from the Battlefield series, or even just any AAA first-person shooter video game in a long time. So I think this game is going to be huge, and I've really enjoyed my time with it so far, and I'm looking forward to spending a shit ton more time in Battlefield 6. So I've been talking for over 15 minutes now, so I'm probably going to wrap things up here. If you've made it this far into the video and just listened to me yap about all this stuff this long, thank you. I do really appreciate you watching. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of Battlefield 6 beta if you played it. And if you haven't played it, what do you think of it from all the things you've seen? Will you be buying the game on day one? Did you pre-order? I know that everyone was saying, remember, no pre-orders because we don't trust EA and Battlefield after 2042. But after playing the beta, I trust them. I think this is going to be a really good game, guys. So again, let me know down in the comments all of your thoughts, concerns, anything like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, guys. I'm looking forward to covering Battlefield 6 more on this channel this year. It's going to be a really good year, so if you haven't subscribed, be sure to do that. All right, guys, once again, I'm Mr. Golden Gamer, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.